Yo ho ho, hypers and hypeettes. We are doing, per request, a tutorial for Alan. You might recognize him as the guy that you run through the prologue with, but he's actually a pretty decent dude. Now I will say this, Alan is a interesting hyper. He's set up as a specialist, and I'll explain why here in a second, but he plays sort of like an assassin, just a very well-rounded one. Now let's get into the reason why he's a specialist. Look at this passive. Look how huge this is. At first this was just befuddling when I looked at it. It was just mind-boggling, like, okay, sword emblem, skill damage plus 15, well, what? Sword emblem, magic emblem, what's going on? So basically you get a sigil, or a sigil underneath you, and it shows a sword, or it shows a little yellow magic orb. Based on what you do, based on how you combo your skills. I'm going to show you basics. I'm not going to go into great detail, but if you main Alan, after you've played him for a little while, actually after you've played him for like a few, maybe 10, 15 games or so, you'll kind of have this memorized. Essentially, how you combo sets up what happens next on your next skill, or the active skill, I should say. So I'm going to show you. The sword emblem is going to match to the yellow. So, Blazing Strike. Matches to the sword. Shining Crash grants sword emblem, and Rising Slash grants sword emblem. So your sword attacks grant sword emblem. Makes sense. Your Blazing Strike and your bright orb grant magic emblems. So it happens on the second activation of the ability. So if I just did two swords, I have the sword emblem right there. So the next ability I'm going to do is going to be sword emblem plus a magic emblem, because I'm going to do bright orb, and the sword emblem to the magic emblem grants movement speed for 3 seconds. So I'm going to walk forward, and you'll actually see me get a burst of movement speed. There you go. Now, same thing, I have the magic emblem now, so if I use a sword skill, excuse me, it restores 5% of my max health. So I use a sword skill, I haven't lost any health, so there's no restoration. Now if I do a magic emblem, it stuns. That just slowed, so I'll show you. Magic emblem, and another magic emblem, and she should get hit with stun. Boom. That's just how it works. So sword emblem, skill damage, it gets upped. So boom, boom, and you see the sigil changes underneath me. Now that's just explaining its passive. So let's actually go into what your skills do. Alright, let me raise my level up. So his Q, he gathers magic in his fist and he tosses it forward. He doesn't toss, he slams it forward. It's kind of like burning fingers from G Gundam, if you're aware. If you've seen that show, if you know about it, it's pretty much the same principle. However, you do slide if you hold the directional button. That's something to know. You will go completely past people. You don't stop on them. You will go through them. Now, your passive is still granted based on which sigil you have under you and which combination you've done. So his W, flip sword strike. In addition, the passive is granted based on which sigil you have under you, what combo you have done. I'm not going to make a video going over every single combo with the sigils in it. It's something I want you guys to experiment with and kind of figure out on your own so it can be adjusted towards your playstyle. However, I am going to show you just kind of the basics here. And it would also take an enormous amount of time to go through every single combo that's possible. Now his W also moves with him if you're holding the directional key. Now be careful with that because you don't want to miss. And it does have a hitbox like everything else. So you don't want to just miss and go completely over the person. So granted, you can land on top of them essentially and still do damage, but it's possible to completely miss the person and you're just doing no damage. Now you already saw the bright orb. You hold this, the longer you hold E, the more damage it does and the further it goes. However, it will release after a certain period of time. In addition to that, you can move either way while holding it before releasing it. However, I want to point out that if you're holding it and you dash, it negates it and the skill still goes on cooldown. So that's important to note. If you're holding this, you dash, that skill's on cooldown now. You don't have access to it again. His A, it's just a sword slash. You do get a small movement forward if you hold the forward key. It's very short though, very short distance. Essentially he is a specialist because how complex and how technical his kit is with his skills. But when you build him, he's going to end up being kind of like an assassin. Now, his R is a dash forward slash. It cuts through every person in the line. It actually goes a good distance, and it stuns. Now, you still get the proc from your sigils, too. But that's what it does. It stuns. and it does a whole heap amount of damage. Now the question was posed to me, or the reason why this was brought up, this particular hyper, was someone was wanting to know how to better utilize this kit without going in and kind of being so squishy. So I did some tinkering. I practiced a lot with him, and I figured out a way to do it. This item set I have is my personal choice on items for him, but I used a lot of different ones, and I had too much defense at one point. My damage output was kind of bad, and then I had too much damage, not enough defense, and then I figured out something a little tricky to do with him. So this is what we're going to do. I do Slaughter Gators on him. Slaughter's Gators. It gives me Lifesteal and Movement Speed. I really don't have Lifesteal on here other than that. I think I might have one item. No, everything else is crit damage so I can get into deeps, you understand? Now, the reason I do that is because my only defense item, my only true defense item, is Frost Cape. And there's a good reason behind it. So it can be defense, max health, max mana. And you do burn mana with him, like a lot. You do burn mana with him. So that's something to take into consideration. And that's another reason why I got this. However, on its third stage, you get this Ice Cloak, which is fine. It does damage to people around you. That's great. Okay, you're doing extra damage. But the reason I chose it is not only so when I go in, I do extra damage, but I also get the lifesteal procced on every single one of the ticks from that damage. And that's key for me. I'm not doing a lot of lifesteal, but I don't need it, because at that point, I'm already going in and doing damage. So when I actually do damage off my base attacks, I'm getting lifesteal for my base attacks plus the frost cape. Now the only item that he has unique to him that I actually really enjoy is his hero seal. The reason being is because it amps the damage on his ultimate so much that it just becomes ridiculous. So I'll kind of show you this. This person's gonna die, or at least they should. Oh, close enough. But it kind of gives you an idea. Now they don't have any defenses. Essentially, you won't find a lot of specialists that do run a lot of defense, but there will be some that are kind of smart with their heads in the game, and they'll understand, hey, I can't do just straight damage. And one thing I do want to make you aware of, people like Ignitia, however you say her name, and Aisha, people that do damage over time, including the Pitbull freaking plant, they are kind of harder counters towards Alan and towards a lot of assassins, because they do damage to you before you can even get to them, so you're going to want to kind of drop them as quick as possible. Anywho, now the next item I usually build is the Plasma Cutter. And the reason I built that is because I like the bleed damage that it gives. So after I do my initial attack, and it's even procs off your ult, so watch. They're bleeding. Now I did one attack and that chunked their health. Bleeding again. Oh, I didn't press forward. Bleeding again. Now with your Bright Orb, one thing I do want to let you know of, you don't have to hold it for its full duration. If you're just trying to get a quick stun off, just let it go. Let it happen, because you get that quick stun off. Oh, I'm sorry, I didn't mean to dash there. Get that quick stun off, and then you can go in and do what you need to do. Simple as that. With Alan, it is always good. You have multiple ways to get in on people. And I'm not going to go over the last two items there really in detail. There's Dragon Bane, it's basically attack and crit damage item, increases critical damage by additional 20%, and Hunter's Claw, or Hunter's Claws. When the enemy health is below 50%, it increases damage inflicted by 10%. So basically, you're just critting, and then once you get them below 50%, they're pretty much going to die. Especially if you hit them with your ult. It stuns them, it stuns everybody in a line. You could set up huge plays for your teams with that. That's another reason why he's a specialist, not so much an assassin, mind you. I still use him like one. I get in there and I still play him as one because it seems more fluent that way. Anyhoodles. So one of the few things that I actually enjoy doing with Alan is getting behind somebody, hitting him with that, and that's a double stun right there. Now Alan can actually run jungle quite well. I'll be frank about that, because I've had no problems getting gold on him. But here's a few things that you can do. So if you want to get past somebody, you get them with that. I'll show you this. So one of the combos I have done, I've gone deep into a team. I don't recommend doing this unless you know you can get out. I've gone deep into a team, queued into all of them, turned around and ulted. It's a very simple thing to do. Just Q, ult. In addition to that, if you want to do something a little bit more, Q. No, not that. Don't do that. You can Q, turn back around. That was 4 attacks. So Q, turn back around. Kind of hard to time. Q, turn back around, and ults. Now mind you, they're just slowed right there. A is on a short cooldown, so you can definitely get in on someone like that. Q, A, W, boom. It's just pretty short. His combos are pretty sweet. Basically, they're short and sweet. They're concise. You can do a lot of bread and butter combos off of basic, simple key inputs. The thing you have to remember is what your passive does. So, if I'm wanting to make sure I get a stun off, Q, I already know I got that stun, because remember, double magic, you get a stun. So Q, boom. I haven't done any other skills but magic. Now I have magic, so there we go. I'm on that now. Now remember, what is magic and then sword? Magic and then sword restores 5% of max health. So you have a little health gain in your kit. Now if you do, now that we have sword on, if we go from sword to magic, movement speed. Alright, so boom, moving a little bit more. This was a pretty short and concise example of, or tutorial item guide for Alan. You can definitely use him how you like, definitely mix and match some items. This took me a lot of tinkering just to get it to where I can play him well, where I liked it, and I enjoyed it. I invite you all to look over this, use it as a guide to just get started, put your foot in the door and playing Alan, and try some things out for yourself. See what you like about him. You can run him with no defense items at all. This is just a way that I think helps keep you in the game, sustain, where if you need to get away, you can get away, and if you need to get in there and do some damage, you still can with having some defenses on your side. Well, anyway, guys, as I always say, have a great morning, day, noon, or night. Get a good Yo-Ho-Ho in there, coffee, tea, water, whatever it is you drink to make your day a little bit better, and I will see you guys on the next one.